Hi, today let us talk about the inner child. No matter how old we are, no matter how successful, there is an inner child within us that longs to be held, that longs to be nurtured and accepted and made to feel that it belongs. However successful and self-assured a woman you might be, there is still the child within who longs for a gentle, caressing, nurturing touch, who wishes to be helped and supported. However macho and outgoing and assertive a man you might be, there is still a boy within who wants to be understood and taken care of and made to feel safe. This little child that lives in all of us is the inner child. The inner child is made up of all our memories and experiences when we were very, very young. When we are 1 or 2 or even 6 or 7, we do not have the mental capacity, the intellectual ability to make logical, analytical sense of the events that take place around us. What happens then is that all situations and all events are understood, comprehended only from a space of emotion. And when we are that young, our emotions that are not tempered by our intellect very often construes events which may not necessarily be exactly how the inner child remembers them. Of course, as we grow older, we forget these events, even those that might have been traumatic for us when we were very young. But that does not mean that the inner child has forgotten them. Those emotional experiences remain with us and continue to act as our catalysts for emotional reactions to situations and people around us as we grow old. Very often you might have asked yourself why you react to a certain person or to a certain situation in a manner that might seem unreasonable even to you, but which you somehow do not seem to have a control over. This is exactly what we're talking about. That is your inner child reacting. The inner child needs to be healed. If we want our relationships to work, if we would like to go out into the world as confident, grounded, centered, and balanced individuals, the inner child has to be healed. And there is only one way to heal that inner child. We have to take responsibility for that inner child. We have to own the experiences and events that the inner child experienced when the inner child was very, very young. You might ask how. What I have found most effective in my work with a lot of people is that self-awareness and alertness is more essential to understanding and healing the inner child. The inner child has a certain energy, and you can be aware of that energy if only you'd be more alert to yourself. You would then probably realize that the predominant energy of the inner child is one of anger, or one of being rejected, or feeling victimized, or aggression. And how will you become aware of this energy? By being alert about your reactions in the current situations, about being aware of how you predominantly react with people and situations. Once you have identified your predominant energy or energies, feelings and emotions, you can then proceed to make sense of it. Go back as long as memory takes you and allow yourself to unearth memories that we all keep locked away but which are not dead. I have found that our deep committed intention to unlock these memories works wonders. It's a signal that you send to your deep, deep emotional inner child that you are now ready to face what you were not able to face when you were a child, and that you're ready to own responsibility for the same without blaming yourself or blaming another. We as parents do our very best for our children, and our parents have done their very best for us. But there is still a gap between what the parents can give emotionally and what the child needs emotionally. There is a gap between what society makes the child feel and what the child feels for itself. This gap is then filled up with doubts, insecurities, and beliefs that we carry about ourselves. Beliefs like, I am not good enough, I am less fortunate than others, people don't accept me as I am, and so on and so forth. These beliefs are a clear indication that the inner child was not nurtured in the way it desired to be nurtured. There is no fault here, there is no finger pointing, and there is no blame. Parents and caregivers did the best they could, given their circumstances, just as you and I, as parents and caregivers, do the best that we can, given our circumstances. The inner child is a wake-up call for all of us. The wake-up call is that there is not enough love for ourselves. How many times have you found yourself putting your desires and your wishes on a back burner so that someone else's dreams could come true? How many times have you been able to remind yourself that in order to give others, you must be full within? We do everything that we can to make lives of others comfortable. But we forget that in this self-sacrifice, we are draining away our own energy. And when we do that, we are giving a very clear signal to our inner child, I don't matter. Everyone else matters, but I. As soon as that message is received by the inner child and is then reiterated again and again by your actions, the inner child begins to believe that it is worthless. It loses its self-esteem, it loses belief in itself, it loses self-worth, and it stops loving itself. It is very, very important to love ourselves. Only then can we accept and love others unconditionally. It is easy to talk about unconditional love, but unconditional love is a state where self-love is supreme. A state of self-love is not a state of ego. It is not a state of selfishness. It is a state where we recognize our worth. We recognize our radiance. We recognize our glory. And in that recognition lies the recognition of the glory and the radiance and the wonder of everyone else. As adults and as teachers and as caregivers, our task is to ensure that all the children in our care grow up with this self-worth, with this self-love, and with self-esteem. Of course, every child has its own journey, but as adults, we must take extra care to ensure that our words and actions are not leading to their lack of self-worth. If you, as an adult, are doing things or saying things that are harsh and rude and mean, then that is your wake-up call. Your inner child is telling you that your harsh behavior, your mean words are coming from lack of self-love. It is because you don't love yourself enough. It is because you don't feel worthy enough. It is because you need to steal power from adults and children that you act and speak in the way you do. It is easy to heal this kind of an inner and outer environment. The answer lies in healing the inner child with love. Ask yourself what you really believe about yourself. Ask yourself what you really think about your value. Ask yourself, how significant do you think you are? Not egoistically, but from a place of spiritual fullness. No amount of prayers and scriptures and chanting can take the place of self-love. They cannot make you a person who can give to others unconditional love. Only you can do that for yourself. But first, you must be dedicated, committed to a journey to go deep within yourself. Yes, to uncover and unearth painful memories if there are any. To heal yourself from these painful memories. And then to look at yourself with fresh eyes of wonder and beauty and love, and most importantly, respect. If you cannot respect yourself, you shall not be able to respect another. When children grow up, or are educated in an environment that is devoid of respect, that is devoid of self-honor and honor for all others, they begin to learn, their inner child begins to learn that the only way to get along in this world is to be harsh and aggressive, or to be submissive and self-sacrificing. Neither is a healthy emotional state. Don't wait too long. Get in touch with your inner self. Get in touch with your inner child and start the journey towards self-love, self-esteem, and self-worth. God bless you. Wishing you love and light.